What if I told you that not remembering your childhood isn't just normal forgetfulness? It's not just bad memory. It's not just, I was too young. Sometimes it's your mind protecting you from something you were never meant to carry alone. And the scariest part is, you might be living your entire adult life shaped by memories you can't even recall. If you're someone who says, I don't really remember my childhood, or it's all just blank, then stay with me. And if you're hearing this and thinking, wait, is that not normal? It's more common than you think. But it's not always simple. Let's understand this in a real, human way. Forgetting small parts of childhood is completely normal. Everyone does. But when large portions of your early life feel like a blur or are completely missing, psychology looks at it differently. Sometimes this happens because of something called emotional suppression or dissociation. That sounds complicated, but it's actually very simple. When a child experiences something overwhelming, something confusing, painful, or emotionally heavy, their brain doesn't always process it the way an adult would. Instead, it protects. A child's mind says, this is too much for me right now. So instead of storing that memory clearly, it pushes it away, not to erase it, but to hide it, because survival comes first. And over time, those memories don't disappear. They just become hard to access, like a locked room in your mind that you don't even remember creating. And here's where things get deeper. Even if you don't remember what happened, your mind and body still do. That's why people who don't remember their childhood often feel certain things without understanding why. You might feel emotionally disconnected at times. You might struggle to trust people fully. You might react strongly to small situations. And then later wonder, why did I react like that? Sometimes you feel uncomfortable getting too close to people. Sometimes you feel like something inside you is off, but you can't explain it. And the most confusing part is, you don't have a clear memory to connect these feelings to. Just emotions and without a story. Now here's something very important to understand. This doesn't always mean something extreme happened. A lot of people think, if I don't remember my childhood, something terrible must have happened. But that's not always true. Sometimes it's not about big trauma. Sometimes it's about quiet, consistent emotional neglect. Not being heard, not being comforted when you needed it, not feeling safe to express yourself. Even growing up in an environment where your emotions were ignored or dismissed can be overwhelming for a child, because a child doesn't need something dramatic to feel unsafe. Even silence can be heavy. Even emotional distance can leave a mark, and when that happens, the brain adapts. It doesn't always say, let's remember this. Sometimes it says, let's move past this. But the truth is, we don't really move past it. We carry it just in ways we don't fully see. And that's why it shows up later in life. In your relationships, in your reactions, in your fears, in the way you handle love, conflict, and closeness. You might find it hard to trust people, even when they're good to you. You might push people away without meaning to. You might feel anxious even when everything is calm, or you might become overly independent, feeling like you can only rely on yourself. And all of this can feel confusing. Because you don't remember where it started, there's also something quietly painful about not remembering your childhood, not because you're missing details, but because you're missing pieces of yourself, moments that shaped you, feelings you once had, versions of you that needed care, attention, and love. And sometimes, without realizing it, people carry a kind of silent grief because of that. Not loud, not obvious, just a feeling that something is missing. But here's something you need to hear. Not remembering your childhood doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind did what it thought was best for you at that time. It protected you. And maybe it protected you so well that now you're left trying to understand yourself without all the pieces. But healing doesn't always mean you have to recover every single memory. You don't have to force yourself to remember things you're not ready for. Sometimes, healing is much simpler and much gentler. It starts with awareness. Noticing your patterns, understanding your reactions, being curious instead of judgmental toward yourself. You can start by paying attention to what triggers you emotionally, what makes you uncomfortable, what makes you pull away or react strongly. You can write your thoughts down, not to force memories, but to understand your feelings. You can talk to someone you trust. And if you feel ready, even consider talking to a professional. But there's no rush. You don't have to fix everything at once. You just have to start reconnecting with yourself, slowly and safely. And one more thing, if this feels like you're not alone. There are so many people walking around with the same experience, the same confusion, the same unanswered questions. They just don't talk about it. Because how do you explain something you can't even remember? So if something inside you is quietly saying, "This makes sense," then maybe this is the beginning of understanding yourself in a way you never have before. And if this made you stop and think, even for a moment, take that seriously. You can even ask yourself a simple question. Do I really remember my childhood? Or do I just remember a few random moments? And if this helped you understand yourself even a little, stay connected. Because there's so much more to explore about the human mind, the parts we don't talk about, but all of us carry. Not remembering your childhood doesn't mean nothing happened. Sometimes it means something did. And your mind chose silence, so you could survive.